This is a review of Sailor's new Tuzu fountain pen, which has supposedly taken 5 years in the making. I first heard about this pen on Tokyo Inklings. They're back now and I think publishing every other week, so you may want to check them out. It's a great podcast. And then Fudafan had a really good post on Instagram. It explains a lot about the pen. But in both cases, I pretty much, kind of ignored the pen. And the main reason is because I'm in the midst of moving all my inks, pens, my whole life from Japan to the States, and will be stepping on a plane in about 10 days. This is the state of my room right now, and I'm normally a neat freak. So to say my life is in turmoil right now is a bit of an understatement. I'll be putting out a video in about a week on my crazy packing process. As a break from all this, I had lunch with some friends in Ginza. Well, across the street from the restaurant that we ate at is Nihonbashi's Mitsukoshi department store. And they carry one of the things I wanted to get before moving back to the States, which is a Ginkgo cutting board. They're awesome if you ever want a good cutting board. Stationery Station is in Mitsukoshi, and I thought, well, yeah, I'll just pop in there and take a peek, which, yeah, that didn't work out real well. I found the display for Tuzu and was totally enchanted. The normal colors are black, gray, and green, but they have two special edition colors, blue and red. And one of the things you learn about being a Japanese stationery shopper is always get the Gente. Gente is the limited edition item, so I got the blue one. The reason why I told you this convoluted story about how I got this pen is I wanted to bring to your attention that perhaps my overexuberance about this pen may be due to my sleep-addled and overtasked brain. But I like this pen so much, I decided to do a review even though I'm at a really crazy point in my life. So first, let's get the pronunciation out of the way. There is no tu sound in Japanese. There's a ta, and a te, and a to, but no tu. Tu is actually pronounced tsu, like this. So the correct pronunciation would be Tuzu. But I want to go with Tuzu because that's pretty much, what everybody's going to call it. It comes in this pretty cool little box, but I'm not sure if people outside of Japan will get it. It says, express yourself with both a ballpoint pen and a fountain pen, and the fountain pen turns into the ribbon that holds the box closed. The flip side says Tuzu. So you basically open the little baggy box by pulling out the ribbon and pulling the thing out of the slot. And inside is the actual box that the pen is in, along with a couple of cartridges. This pen does come with a converter too, which is pretty cool. You get cartridges and a converter. There's instructions on how to use the pen in both Japanese and English. I was really surprised they already had the English instructions out. This tells me that they plan on pushing the pen just as much outside of Japan. Even their website is both in Japanese and English, and the English is actually surprisingly good. The blue polycarbonate is this gorgeous kind of translucent, turquoisey dark blue color. As you can see, it kind of widens a bit as it goes toward that silver collar, which is part of the section. Part of the beauty of this pen is its clean lines, and here's the finial, and it's basically just a concentric circle. The clip is steel, but then it has kind of this blue colored, like rubberish covering over it. Even in the cap, you can still see the translucent quality of it. And toward the finial, you can see the spring that will be depressed when the section of the pen presses up against the inner plastic lining. This is supposed to keep your pen from drying out, to keep it wet longer, and it's a very important point for me as I usually have so many pens inked up. I like that little covering over the clip. It kind of keeps the pen all one color. So it has very clean lines, and the only sailor you really see is right there at the bottom of the cap. And the clip feels flexible but grippy. And it's a slip cap. Some call it a snap cap. Let's just listen. The barrel slightly tapers out till it meets the cap and then tapers back in. It has a very slight belly bulge. There's a bit of a step down from the barrel to the section, but the section's pretty long to accommodate all the moving parts. Because the section is so long, my hands don't touch that step down, and here it is posted. It has a triangle grip like a Lamy Safari or a Twisby, but it's adjustable. And then it has this funny little lip, which I think might have a purpose, and I'll talk about that again later. The theory behind this adjustable nib is that the plane of the nib should meet flat with the plane of the paper. This would work out fine if you held the pen in a normal triangle grip. But many of us don't, and then some of us pull toward our left with our thumb or whatever. To adjust the nib, unscrew the barrel, and then unscrew that silver collar back far enough so that you can pull the section back far enough to adjust it. You need to pull the section back far enough where you can see this inner drop off right here. Here you can see the triangular grip of the section. And here you can see the 10-degree increments in the section. To the left of that lip, you can see those raised plastic lines. They catch into the little 10-degree increments inside of the section. So you're moving that triangular section to accommodate your grip. So if you pull to the left or the right, you may want to angle the section slightly to the left or the right. Surprisingly, when you check their website, they have some really weird ways you can maneuver that triangular grip. If there's anything you don't understand, you really need to check out that website. It's very good. So I thought I would try some weird things. So I'm going to call this bump out part the top of the triangle. I have this weird callus on my middle finger that I'm going to try to work around. So I adjusted the grip so that this finger is resting on a flat spot, and then this flat spot is up against the bump on my finger. And it felt pretty good. It almost felt like using a pen with a normal round section. And in this case, I put the top of the triangle on the bottom side. And then one flat side sat on my bump, and the other flat side I stuck my thumb on. That gave me a kind of weird, real overhanging index finger. But if that's how you grip your pen, it might be more comfortable for you. What they're trying to do is make it so the pen's very easy to write with. You snap it off and then grip it very quickly, and it should feel very natural. And that's why you have that adjustable section. It's really an adjustable section, not an adjustable nib. Okay, back to the nib. You can see the slit there, which, by the way, was tuned very well, that little bit of space there in the tip. But the slit doesn't go all the way to the breather hole, and it's now called a heart hole. Some of the names for fountain pens really do me in. The reason it's a heart hole is because it can fill the pen through that hole as opposed to submerging the section completely in the ink. This was surprisingly difficult to film, with me turning the converter and still trying to keep that heart hole in the ink without touching the section. I wanted to be able to ink the pen without using a paper towel to clean up. And now I'm scraping the front of the nib against the bottle, and I don't have to use a paper towel because I never submerged the section. And here I'm dribbling some ink back into the bottle so that you can see it also comes out of that heart hole. The nib is friction fit and can pull out, and it looks pretty cool. There's that little metal piece sticking into the ink channel, and it's kind of wrapped around the feed. I was going to try to take it apart, but I wanted a functioning pen. It seemed rather tightly fitted onto the feed. Notice the nib is flat and stops short and has these plastic extensions. Here's a Pilot Prera, and it's also friction fit. And when you're putting a friction fit nib back in, it's like, well, how far do you push it in? It may be something that a beginner wouldn't know. But with the Tuzu, it almost snaps into place. You just push it in until the nib meets the section, and that's it. Nice and simple. And here's a size comparison with the TWSBI Echo. The Tuzu comes in at about 21 grams when it's inked up. And here it is with the Pilot Kakuno. And it looks like the Tuzu is going to come in somewhere between $35 to about $50. And here it is against a Prera. And here it is against an Opus 88. Here it is uncapped against the Kakuno and the Echo, and they're all relatively the same size. And here it is uncapped against the Prera, and it's just the Prera is just a small pen. And here it is uncapped against the Opus 88, and the amazing thing is they're pretty similar in size, even though with it capped, the Opus 88 is much bigger. I think it's because of the longer section on the Tuzu. When you compare their sections, you can see that the Tuzu has a really long section. And that's why when you're holding it, even without slight step down, it doesn't really even touch your fingers. So how does it write? Well, it feels nice and light in your hand, being at 21 grams inked up, but it feels very smooth, and I don't want to say with a slight hint of feedback, but almost like a controlled smoothness. The pen comes in 3 nib width sizes, fine, medium, and broad, and it's interesting that it also comes in a broad. Of course, this is going to be a slightly thinner line than a Western broad. To me, it feels like a nice everyday writer, not a gusher, not dry, just kind of medium. That purple ink was J. Herbin Violet Pensée. I thought I would try a wetter ink, and I did fill it with only the heart hole, and I didn't need to wipe out the section at all. This is Stationery Station's own Sailor ink, and yeah, I picked it up when I picked up the pen, even though I'm trying to ship a bunch of ink. This writes like a normal pen would with a medium wet ink. It just writes a little bit wetter, which goes on to make me think that this pen is just made for everyday writing. There's a lot of things going for this pen. It's a mid-price pen with a slip cap. It comes with a converter in fine, medium, and broad, which now kind of distinguishes it away from a starter pen. And that slip cap has a spring-sealed system. It's lightweight but sturdy, and it's definitely a step up. So if you're using like a Preppy or a Kakuno right now, this is a way to maybe try a little bit nicer pen, but you don't lose any of the advantages of using a Preppy or a Kakuno. And it's a beautiful pen, a little more grown-up looking. I've used a Preppy before where someone was asking me, what kind of marker I was using, but this one looks like a fountain pen. Yeah, there's the heart hole and the adjustable nib, but those are kind of like fun things. They aren't the reason why I really like this pen. It's a beautiful looking pen at a really great value and a really great writer. I mean, you can't get much better than that. Now I need to get back to packing. The winner for my giveaway on the Adventure Denali video is posted in the show notes and also on that post on my Instagram.